So this is episode 6 of Oluswole, the podcast on budget. I'm excited to welcome our guest, another Oluswole fan, a good friend of mine, and a great chef. Shahd, what's good?
Hello, Tari. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Been showing a lot of support on the pod. I appreciate that.
No worries.
Yeah.
I love it. I actually do enjoy it. Like, especially because I'm always home, so it's just nice to, I guess, hear familiar voices as well.
Of course, yeah. Thanks. Pandemic podcast going crazy right now. Yeah. I want to start off with a little intro as to how we met. So, I thought we met in year 9, but we actually met in year 10.
No. Yeah, year 10.
Yeah,
I told you last night, yeah.
Yeah, you did, yeah. I was like, I could have sworn you came the year before, but that was just, I don't know. I think it's because I've been at the school for so long. I've seen so many people come through that it's kind of a blur. Like,
yeah, it's confusing. You forget. I get it, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we just met in year 10, aka 9th grade. That's the first year of high school, and then we just friends. We were in the same class for business, I believe.
Yes, we were GCSE business.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Good times. Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah.
So I wanted to start off with your upbringing. So you were born in Bristol?
No, actually, I was born in Sudan.
Okay.
I hope everyone knows where that is, Africa. And then I moved to England when I was like 9 months old. Yeah, and we've kind of just been moving around in England. But like where I would call home is Bristol. So yeah.
Oh, word. Speaking of Sudan, this is kind of off topic, but I think before episode 2 drops, or before episodes 2 or 3 drops, I was checking my analytics, and we have listeners across 6 different continents. I think it's crazy. And the only listener in Africa was from Sudan. So
No way!
Yeah, someone from Sudan is showing some love.
I wonder who.
Yeah,
That's
maybe you
cool.
got a connection there.
Maybe. I have no idea. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. Yeah, so Bristol, I found out that Bristol actually has its own currency. Like, do you know anything about that?
Really? Like,
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah,
Like people use it.
I mean, I don't know how widely it's used, but obviously there's a British pound. But there's in September 2012, someone created the Bristol pound.
I've actually never heard of that.
Yeah.
Cool, but I've never heard of that. Does it have like the mayor's face on it or something?
I don't know how the bills look like, but I just think it's kind of crazy. I mean, if you don't know about it, it probably didn't really catch on, but still, it's just, I just wonder why someone would create a currency
I have no
for a
idea.
city.
Yeah, exactly.
Kinda-
It's not even like a really big city. It's,
Yeah.
don't know.
Bold move, though. Bold move. And then you guys also have J.K. Rowling out there. Were you like a big Harry Potter fan growing
I
up?
was actually. Oh my gosh. I used to it was probably the only movie I used to watch on repeat. My mom always tells me stories. She's like, you always used to just love Harry Potter and just put it on constantly. And I've actually read all the books and I loved it. And I've always wanted to, in London how there's like Harry Potter World. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to go there, but I mean I've never had a chance, but maybe soon.
Yeah, hopefully. Did she do anything like do any kind of like advertisement in Bristol? Because she's from there, like any like special pop-up shops or special meet and greets?
Not that I know of. I mean I was pretty young, so I don't think like I would have heard about something like that, Not too sure. She might have, but I don't really know.
And you moved from Bristol to the UAE, right? Or
Yeah.
you said, okay.
Yeah, 10, yeah.
Yeah, and that was
That
your
was-
first time living there, right?
In the UAE?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a big kind of like transition, It was a bit difficult at first, but I got used to it, yeah.
Yeah, what was your? I want to go into that a bit more. Like, what was your? How long were you in Bristol for? Probably like 14 years, something like that. Probably, or
Not Bristol specifically. I think Bristol specifically, like, I want to say 5, 6 years. I did say we
uh,
were moving around a lot, but I think because I was just quite older, the last years, before like year 10, so year 9 and stuff, you're a bit more mature, so that's how I remember it. So that's why I kind of relate it to home. But yeah.
okay. How was it like? What was your fresh off the boat experience when when you landed in Abu Dhabi? Like, what was your experience just living in a completely different culture? Because I mean, everyone has their own unique challenges or stories they face when they first moved out there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Bristol is um quite, small, friendly. It's like I knew a lot of people there, and it's, even when you move from, let's say, like primary school to high school, I guess everyone goes to different high schools, but there's still some people you bump into, and you're like, oh my gosh, we used to go to the same school. So it's like just a small area, and everyone's sort of the same. Like we all kind of, what I found different was like we all kind of act the same, think the same, and then when I came here, my school was pretty small, to be honest. I know some people still think Brighton, where we went, is small, but for me, that was huge. I was like, oh my gosh, this huge school with like 3 floors and like so many different people from all around the world. So it was really weird, trying to get used to everything, and even people that were from England here would act a bit different to how people in the UK would act. I guess that's because they're brought up here, or you're influenced by the environment and society and everything. So I would always be like, why are you why are you doing that? Which I found a bit strange at first. Um, and also how people had like a close relationship with their teachers. Like you guys would just easily like casually just talk to your teachers and know, I guess, things about their lives and stuff. Like I never, I was always like, like, to me that's like inappropriate, and I was like, oh my gosh, like why you talk to your teacher like that? But I guess it was more kind of, I don't know, a bit friend, like everyone's fine with it. So those were a couple of things that I found a bit like, whoa. But yeah, like I got used to it, and I also kind of started doing those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. You had to adapt.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like
Mm-hmm.
even life here, it's completely different. So
I get you.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's a pretty unique place. Pretty different from probably 99% of countries in the world. And there's something you said about the huge school bit and moving to that.
Mm.
Personally, so I didn't feel like when I moved, I didn't feel like the number of students was huge. I thought the building was huge because I
Yeah.
came from, public school in Texas, and it was just what pre-K to fifth grade, so FS2 to year six, and I like you kind of knew everyone, like you said, like it was kind of like a small kind of environment. I mean, the school wasn't small, but there just weren't many year groups in one school. I'd never been
Right.
to like a K through 12
Yep, yep.
type school, so
Exactly.
see all those people, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is pretty crazy.
Yeah, yeah, I get you,
Yeah,
yeah.
and also for me, it was just getting familiar with like British slang. That was kind of my fresh off the boat experience. I
Yep.
feel like I'm a pretty well versed British person now, but back then,
Okay. I mean, your accent still needs a bit of work on, but
no, I disagree. My accent is tough. British people,
no.
British people tell me my British accent is nice, so I'm gonna have to take their word for it. So
Okay, you can take the word. I'll let you have this one.
yeah, like I remember I was sitting in math class in probably year 5 or something like that. That was the year that I joined, so fourth grade. I was 9 years old. I remember I can't remember who it was, but I remember someone asked the teacher if he can go to the loo. I'm like, the loo? What
You're like, what's
the
the
heck?
loo?
I'm like, what's that? I'm like, what is a loo? I'm just sitting there thinking, because I don't want to look like I'm that guy who doesn't know what's going on. And I'm just sitting there
Yeah,
thinking like,
yeah.
where is this guy going to? Like, is he just leaving school like in the middle of class? Like, where is the loo? So yeah, it's just getting familiar with British terminology uh, was a bit of a not a, it was a bit of a change. It's definitely a big change.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
being
So,
a minority amongst minorities, kind of, was another interesting experience. But pretty unique. Not gonna lie.
yeah, I feel like we'd feel like that. Like if I mean, I've never been to America or like been in that sort of environment, but I feel like if I did go over there, I'd also, it will obviously take time and things are a bit different. So yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. So, is there anything like what was your first impression of the people at Brighton, and like when you first came in?
The people, yeah.
Yeah.
So I did mention that they were acting a bit different. I guess maybe in the UK, how do I say this in a nice way? Everyone's sort of because we're all kind of the same, a bit more humble, shall I say? And here, obviously, it's a very luxurious and prestige kind of lifestyle. So I guess, people, I don't know, they do act a bit different. You know what? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
I don't know how to say it.
I think I get what you mean.
Yeah,
I think I
like
catch your
everyone,
drift.
like okay, for example, something that shocked me, how everyone has like all these like fancy ass cars and like drivers. They'd be like, oh, my driver's come to pick me up, and I'm like, what, you have a driver? Like, what are you talking about? Do you not just walk to school or take the bus or something? It was like, no, my driver's coming, and they'd roll up in these like cars, and I'm like, oh well, okay, good for you. You know what I mean? That was that
Yeah.
was that was like whoa. um but yeah.
Abu Dhabi lifestyle. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty affluent area, on average. So, kind of makes sense that that was the lifestyle that a lot of people lived. And yeah, it was definitely. I think I was too young because you were much older than me when you came. You were
Yeah.
probably around 13 or something like that, or 13, 14, around that age.
Yeah, 15 maybe. Yeah.
Okay. So, but for me, I was 9, so I wasn't really aware of all that was going on.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, it
And
was
it was also
definitely.
like yeah, you said I was in year 9, so I kind of there was also this part where I'm like, I don't want to leave England, I don't want to leave my friends. And then I had to come here. Even though I am used to change, like I've been to so many schools in my life, but still, this was like the biggest change. So yeah.
How many schools are we talking?
Oh wow. I always try and sit and count them. I think I want to say around if we're counting like nursery and like the beginning, I'd say around 11 or 12.
Whoa.
I know. It's quite a lot. There was once where I literally went to a school for what was it, 6 months, and then I moved to the one down the road just because it was easier, I guess, to walk to school. I have no idea. But yeah, I've been to a couple.
A couple, yeah. 11 is definitely a lot more than a couple.
Yeah.
Uh, that's a lot of movement. Like, do you feel like it was harder for you to develop lasting relationships at each place you went because of the number of times you had to move throughout your life?
Um, Lasting relationships? No. Like to be honest, I'm still in contact with some people. Let's say that I was with in what year? I can think of someone in year 5, for example, that I'm still in contact with. Which is like, if you think about it, that's like whoa, so long ago. So relationship wise and like making friends and stuff, I've always been fine with that. That hasn't really affected me so much. I think it does get harder as you're older. So as I said, from like moving from year 9 to 10, that was like the biggest one for me. Maybe because I was a bit more attached to my friends. Like as a kid, you don't really, you don't really think about your friendships. It's kind of just like, oh, I'm friends with him, I'm friends with her. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And that's kind of something I realized through this podcast. Like, when you meet people as a little kid, you're not really thinking about anything. Like, you
Yeah.
just kind of, like, your friendship just kind of, I don't know how to phrase this, but your friendship just kind of starts from that point on. Like, you
Yeah.
don't really ask them about, you don't really know much about how they grew up in their life story before
Yeah.
the point you met them.
Yep.
And that's why even though I brought on people who I've known for like a long time on this podcast, when I was preparing for their episodes, I was thinking like, wow, I didn't know this about them, and I want to go ask them about that because when I was a little kid and I met them, that was never something that crossed my mind. So yeah, that's a pretty
Yeah.
insightful point you brought up. I want to transition to, like, I don't want to make this the academics podcast, but I try to stay versatile, try to keep things moving. Last episode was kind of the sports podcast, and I think
It
this
was.
is, yeah, I think you noted, you were aware of that, but
But I still enjoyed it. Like they're all,
yeah,
all very different and unique, which is good.
yeah, that's what I try to do, and for me, it's just about genuinely asking questions I'm interested in from the person that I have on. And I like sports. He likes sports as well. We had never had anyone on the pod who could talk about sports, so I know some references were just flying over people's heads, but it is what it is. But I want to transition to you're studying medicine, right now.
I am, yes.
That's tough. Like, just to even get an offer for medicine is it's tough to do.
Yeah,
So it's a
yeah.
testament
Oh,
to the
especially
work.
the year we had, with COVID and everything.
Mhm.
It does make things a bit harder.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what was the first experience you had that made you think, hey, this is something I want to do long term?
Ooh, big question. Um, I don't really think there was a first experience. I have like I guess I know what kind of made me want to go in the field. Like I can explain that. Well, both my parents are doctors, so I have always been exposed to that kind of environment, I guess. Like, they're always working late. I don't know, sometimes they'd actually take me with them. Like all these different hospitals they've worked in, I've been, sat there doing whatever. So I was, brought up kind of in the hospital environment, which doesn't really sound very nice to say, but like I feel like I have a good understanding of how, the medical field works, which I think also influenced my decision. And just yeah, I've just always had this like I don't know, like I would if someone were to describe me, people always say I'm kind, let's say, yeah. So I do have this tendency to always just, I guess, check up on people or make sure they're okay and see how they're doing. Like all of that, the mental health part, all of that really interests me. Even in school, like we were in the well-being team, yeah, for like 2 3 years, and I was really like passionate about that. I was like, oh my gosh, no, like people need to know more about mental health. People need to, make sure that there are people there for them and you can talk about it and like it's actually a serious topic. And just being like compassionate on all of that. Like I've seen that, and how doctors deal with patients, and I've had so many like different opportunities where I can actually shadow doctors and like see different operations, see what they're doing, even like the nasty part and like the nice parts and all of it. Like I've seen all of that, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's so cool. I want to do that. Like I want to help people. Maybe not mental health itself, but like there's so much you can do in that field. So I was like, no, like I want to be able to do that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty unique and insightful response. Having two parents as doctors, that's pretty insane. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean that in a good way, by the way, by insane.
Yeah.
Uh, like,
It's cool,
did you?
and they enjoy what they do, which also makes me feel like if you speak to a lot of doctors, they're like, "Oh no, it's horrible. I work all day," but no, they generally do enjoy the field they picked, and they enjoy what they do, and they always talk about it. They come home from work and they talk about their day and stuff, and I just find that really cool. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool."
Yeah, it's pretty dope to hear because you hear some people who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and they're like, I wish I didn't choose this career path, or I only chose this career path because that's what I was told to do, or that's the
Exactly,
only
yeah.
choice that I was able to make when I was, deciding what I wanted to do X many years ago. But it's nice to have like, I guess that's there's no key to life, but I guess one of the
Yeah,
things you want to accomplish is being able to do something you're passionate about and maybe make some cash
exactly.
from that. and I guess
You make them cash, yep. But
yeah.
no, like I generally think people should just, you should just do what you're interested in. I know sometimes there are people that are like, but I don't know what I'm interested in. But you know, I think people do. Everyone figures it out eventually.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And you said that even when you were, looking at the nasty parts when it came to being involved in, the healthcare industry, what kind of, do you have any like particular experiences that made you think like, oh, this is kind of, this might rub me the wrong way a little bit?
Like I don't know. I guess nasty parts. I guess maybe I mean like surgeries. Like there are some
Okay.
surgeries which are really like gruesome, and you're like, ugh, It's like how does the body work like that? Like what is coming out of you? It's kind of gross. There's that part, and also I guess you do one of the first things they taught us was they gave us this whole lecture about how as a doctor, no matter what age you are, because in my cohort obviously there's people who are 18 like me, and there's people with us that are 27, there's people that are like 40. People decide to do medicine at different ages, and one of the first things they taught us was like how to handle death, and how you should be
Sheesh.
aware that people do die, stuff happens.
Mhm.
So as a doctor, you do need to be aware of that, And I have had sick relatives around me who were also in and out of hospitals and stuff, and I've had to deal with, their deaths as well. So I think that part isn't great, you know. But again, like, if you do actually end up helping someone, and if you can make someone better, there's joy in that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, that's a pretty, morbid kind of topic, but it's real. It's real. Like, it
Yeah,
happens, like
it's
you
real
said.
life. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone. I mean, not everyone enjoys it, but yep, it's life. So
I feel like that's something I couldn't really, being like a surgeon or a doctor, or like if like a physical doctor.
yeah,
Or I don't think I could do that. To be honest, I think it just requires a lot of like coordination that I just
yeah,
don't
and
have. And then on top of that,
no, it's just I like it. It's a tough area, so you do generally need to be like 100% into it. Like you need to be like, no, this is what I want to do, and you're determined, and you're like, I'm gonna put my all into it. That's the only
mhm,
way that it works, and you can come out as whatever you want to be. Like you don't need to. Some people go into medical field and they don't even become doctors. I'm sure there's a
mhm.
lot people can do. But yeah,
Spreading some wisdom to the people. Love to see it. Love to see that. We have a lot of people on the, because we don't have, I don't think so, but we don't have a medicine undergraduate degree. But we have a lot of
mm,
people on the pre med track, so they're doing stuff
yeah,
like neuroscience, and they're gonna go to med school right after. Yeah, so we got a lot of people out here doing stuff that's at least somewhat similar to what you're doing. Uh,
that's
yeah.
cool.
Do you think like 'cause medicine? That's a hard degree.
Hmm.
It's notoriously pretty rigorous. Is there anything in particular that stands out as a challenge to you in your young medical career?
Oh, as a challenge, there are a lot of challenges. Um, I don't really know. Apart from things I've named, like I guess death and things like that. I don't know. I think you also need to, especially I guess in the UK or the NHS, you need to be very aware of how you treat people. You know what I mean? Which is
Mm,
also useful for life, but um, we've had a lot of classes and a lot of sessions where it's like, you need to make sure you're not racist. You need to make sure you're not discriminating against everyone, or like you need to make sure everyone's treated fairly, whether you have disabilities or whether you're not. And there are patients that can come to you, and they might have you might have difficulty communicating with them, or you might have difficulty trying to explain how things work. People might be completely against it, but you're like, you need to, come to a conclusion and work as a team and everything, just so you can, try help them get better. But yeah, there's all of that, like just dealing with people, I guess.
Mm.
I think that's the biggest difficulty itself. Yeah.
That's definitely tough, and that's also a reason why it would be hard to be a doctor. I think because you got to be the one to you're the bearer of bad news a lot of times, and you
Yeah,
see like the emotional reaction from the family and all that.
exactly.
Like it's kind of tough. Kind of takes
Yeah. Affects you as well.
it must take some sort of toll on you as a person because it's tough
Yeah,
seeing
yeah.
all that.
Hmm.
Uh, Getting a little bit sad and a bit morbid on the podcast. I want to transition to something a bit lighter. I remember back in high school, I saw you really out there cooking and stuff. Like, how did you? And you're pretty good. Like, how did you get into all that? Like, what was your first
How
cooking
did I get
experience?
into cooking?
Yeah.
I wouldn't really say I like wow at cooking. I do, I guess maybe the quarantine period because we were very much like at home, nothing to do. My sister is always baking, always, She only bakes though. So I was like, well, I wanna, don't know, I have nothing to do. I'm gonna cook. So yeah, I was trying out different things. And to be honest, I think it's also started before that. Like, there was a period where I was, focusing on myself and food became like a big thing. So I was more aware of what I'm putting into my body and all of that. So I think that's where I was like, oh, I need to try new recipes, healthy alternatives, search all that up on Pinterest and stuff like that. But yeah, it's fun. You've tried, haven't you? Like you've cooked a couple things.
Yeah, something light, something light. A little bit of this and that.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy though. Like I saw nothing like what you were doing, like creating whole meals for people, like all that. Yeah, like
Yeah.
multiple course meals. Like I saw you doing that. I was not
Oh, you
out
mean
there
like my
doing that.
dinners?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Those are cool. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I was not. And during quarantine, like if anything, I was doing. I was not. I wasn't cooking during quarantine though. Like during quarantine, I was not doing anything at all. I was just except for the yearbook.
Yeah, yeah. You
Outside
were
of that,
working on that.
yeah, with JD and Buffy. But outside of that, I was pretty much once school was over, I was just chilling and playing FIFA. And since you brought up doing more cooking during quarantine, I wanted to ask: is there a certain kind of quarantine activity that you picked up that you're no longer doing now?
Ooh, quarantine activity. Um, I had a lot of free time. So remember on Snapchat when I used to give, I watched like every single movie there is on Netflix, and I used to pick the ones I like, and I used to give like these reviews. I have no idea why I did that, but I literally had I had nothing to do, so I was like, okay, every time I'm gonna watch a movie, I'm gonna tell everyone about it, and
That was
then
cool. That was cool.
yeah, some people would actually watch it and respond to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That's like nice to hear your thoughts on this. So that's something I no longer do because I don't really have time to watch all these movies. But yeah, that's all I could think of.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that was I remember that. That was a different kind of time. Just I was like, because I don't know when you look back at that period, that March to June 2020 period, doesn't it kind of access a certain part of your brain? Like when you see stuff that
Yeah, it's
reminds
like
you of that.
yeah, it's like a whole other thing, and oh, I don't know, it's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, that's like a deep quarantine section of my brain. Like that's just I don't know how to describe it. There's a certain kind of because you know how you can feel vibes. Like there's a like when you think about memories, like you have your five senses, but there's also like a certain
Yeah,
feeling that you feel that you
yeah,
can't really put into words. Just but you can only describe it through describing your other five senses. If that makes sense. Like
yeah. Okay, yeah.
that's how I felt when I'm thinking about that period. Like it's just waking up in the afternoon looking at my ceiling, not knowing what I'm gonna do, just
Yeah, it was
getting
because it was like a blur, you know. I mean,
yeah.
it felt so slow, but looking at it now, it went by. I mean, it did go by quite quick. I just think it's because we literally didn't do anything, but
Mm,
yeah, it's a weird period of time to think back on.
yeah, yeah. Definitely made some memories out there though. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like sometimes I'm tripping out and I'm thinking, we're really in the middle of a pandemic. This is kind of crazy. It's
It
like
is crazy.
it's kind of like something you would see in a zombie apocalypse,
Oh
where
yeah.
like some sort of dystopian movie where there's a virus going around and people are trying to
Yeah,
trying to
there's a
find a
lot of movies
solution.
about viruses and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's like, whoa, this is actually happening.
And speaking of movies, you talked about your little film series that you were or film review series that you're running on Snapchat. Is there a particular movie that stood out to you?
Particular movie. Um, I watched so many. There was, oh, what was it called? There was this one movie on. I remember it came out and everyone was talking about it. What was it called?
Bird
Birds.
Box.
Bird. Yeah, I mean, Bird
Yeah,
Box. I
yeah,
think it's Bird Box.
yeah.
I remember watching that, and that was very. That was very. I mean, I don't remember the exact plot of the movie, but I think I watched it and I was like, oh my gosh, it's kind of what was happening now. I'm not sure if I'm talking about the right movie, but Bird Box definitely did stand out to me.
Mm.
And there was another one which was quite sad. It's called Miracle in Cell Number 10, I believe. I think it's Turkish, but it was I read the subtitles in English and stuff.
Mm.
Quite sad. But yeah, those two movies I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a big movie guy, but I watched Bird Box simply because of the hype, because everyone was talking about it. I
Yeah, how'd
think
you find it?
it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. It wasn't like I mean, it was a pretty good movie,
Mm,
but I think because there's a lot of hype surrounding it.
yeah.
I don't think it was like when I heard about the hype before I watched the movie, and I thought it would be like this like once in a generation type movie. So maybe I went in with expectations that were a bit too high, but
Right.
it was a pretty good movie, a good plot. I liked the character dynamics. I liked the what exactly was the plot? There was some sort of thing that was going around,
Yeah,
and
there
if
was.
you
I
look
just
at it,
remember something going around. Yeah, and then there was the actress playing it was Sandra.
Bullock,
Yeah,
yeah,
and she was. I remember she was on a boat or something, wearing like a blindfold and with her two kids, and they're
yeah,
trying to go to like this island or camp thing with where people can be safe. That's literally all I remember. So yeah, I think there was something going around.
yeah. I think the mystery of the movie was you didn't know what that thing was, but it was
Hmm.
deadly. So they never
Yeah,
described it. It was just some sort of thing that was going around, but you
yeah,
couldn't look at it, and you couldn't look at the people who were infected by the thing, if I remember
right,
correctly.
right.
Someone's probably yelling at the screen, like telling us the synopsis of the story of the movie, but that's what I can remember from it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same. I don't remember much.
yeah, that was a movie, different kind of time. And I wanted to ask you about because you kind of touched on this already. You were born in Sudan, family is Sudanese.
Yes.
Spent a lot of time in the UK. Moved to Abu Dhabi. Was there any kind of like cultural norm? Did you feel like you were always shifting between different cultures when you're living in those three kind of environments?
Um, yeah, I guess. I mean, in the UK, there was this. What I like about like Sudan, let's say, it's because well, sadly, the country isn't very, let's say, stable. So people are scattered all around the world. Like every country you go to, you can find a group of Sudanese people. And what's nice is they find each other and they kind of form this friendship. So wherever we were in the UK, there was always this group of Sudanese people. There, like for like, when you're celebrating Eid or Ramadan or something, there was always these people that, like they felt familiar, same culture, you eat the same things, talk about the same things, same kind of music my parents are into. So that always felt good, because when I do go back home and see like my cousins and stuff, they used to make fun of me. They're like, "Oh my gosh, your Arabic is so bad," or "Oh my gosh, how do you not know this? Like, where are you coming from?" And I'd be like, "Well, I'm like all the way in England. It has nothing to do with Sudan." And I would only go visit for like, I don't know, the longest I've been there was like 2 weeks. We'd always go visit for a week and then just go back. So I guess in that sort of aspect, I was always like, oh yeah, I am missing out. Because when I do go, I'm like, no, I want to stay longer. But obviously you have to go back. So I guess, yeah, there's always that kind of part of me that's, I guess, missing. That kind of experience they got to experience, for example. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't too bad. And I do like, because I haven't moved around a lot, I've seen a lot of different things, experienced different things. So I feel like it's also built me as a person. So it's nothing bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that last part you brought up about how it affected you as a person, that's something that's a common theme amongst people who have lived outside of the country they're from, or outside of the country their parents are from. It's just kind of, you just kind of have these unique kind of experiences, and you get to meet people from all across the world, which sounds cliche, but if you're introducing more perspectives into your life, then you're probably expanding your own worldview. So, I mean, I can't complain about that. I mean, it sounds like a good thing.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure you relate as well. Like,
yeah, I do relate. But the thing is, most of my cousins who are around my age did not grow up in Nigeria. They probably grew up in North America. So it's just it's kind of similar. Like, the scenario you brought up when you talked about your friends or your cousins making fun of you for not being able to speak as much Arabic or speak it as fluently as they can. I think our level of proficiency when it comes to our own language of our heritage is more or less kind of similar, because we kind of grew up in similar environments, at least for the first 9 years of my life. We grew up in a kind of similar environment to them. But the experiences living internationally are more different. I don't feel like I'm out of touch necessarily, but I just feel like, we've seen some stuff that's a little different. I'm not trying to act like I'm built different, but it's just, you're exposed to different experiences. Yeah, definitely. So I want to move on to the Oluswole Bowl. That's the part of the podcast where we ask you some questions, off-the-cuff questions, and they might be related to what we're talking about. They might not be. Just want to hear what you have to say. So what is the worst cooking experience you've had, and why?
The worst cooking experience.
Like, do you have a dish that flopped, or like an accident in the kitchen or something like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think I don't remember what I was making exactly, but something. Oh, I forgot it. I was making something. I'm not sure what it was. Some sort of sauce or something. I don't know. I just remember there was a lot of liquid, and I left it on the fire, and I went to watch. I went to watch a show, and I completely forgot that there was something cooking. And when
It's a rookie mistake.
Yep. When I came back, it was all the liquid had disappeared. I don't know if it evaporated or something, and there was like just bits stuck to the side, and I was like, oh my gosh, like what the hell? So I turned the fire off, and because I wanted to wash the pot after, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna pour water in it, so it kind of dissolves and stuff. And as soon as I did that, it just went up in flames, and I there's actually still a mark. I made a mark on our wall because the fire went up, and I was so scared. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna burn the house down. So yeah, definitely don't do that.
Yeah, thanks for the recommendation. Happens to the best of us, the best of us chefs. Those kind of accidents happen. So yeah. What are your top 3 music genres? as of
Top
right now.
three music genres.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, uh, I don't know, anything pop, I guess. I enjoy that. And what do they call it? Oh my gosh, it's such a hard question. Is it like indie music? I don't know, like just calm music. I like that as well. I don't know if it's actually called indie, but it's just
Yeah,
like
indie's a genre. Yeah,
calm.
it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Like just calming music. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't really like rock and all of that. No.
Are there certain pop artists you listen to?
Um, certain pop artists. Yeah, like I like I don't know if you know him. His role model. I like that.
I
I'm
don't know.
listening to him. I also like Justin Bieber made a new album. I know everyone hates Justin Bieber, but to be honest, I liked his new album. I like there's someone called Kiana Lead. I like her music. Yeah, don't know.
The thing you bring about when you mentioned Justin Bieber, like that kind of reminded me of an old memory because I remember back in 2010 or 2009, 2010 when he was bursting on the scene. I think he was probably around like 15 or 16 at that time. He it was kind of cool to dislike Justin Bieber for whatever reason.
Yeah, I
It
never
was,
knew why.
I never understood it. I never indulged in that because I never really understood like what was going on with all that. I think it might have been some jealousy on like people's ends because
Yeah, perhaps. I
he
think
had
he also talks about that. He does. I think he's had a couple interviews or something where he mentions how people don't know him, but they're just judging him or like all that things like you mentioned. So yeah, I actually went to his concert. He came to
oh, wow.
Dubai. When was this? When I was in 2016, I think. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go see Justin Bieber. I'm not like a huge fan, but I do enjoy his music. I know as a person he might not be the greatest person out there, but I do enjoy his music. So I took my friend and we went, and it was actually yeah, I had a very nice time.
Yeah, a fangirl moment, huh? Justin Bieber, oh my gosh!
No,
Yeah,
not a fangirl, but I was just like his music, I wanna
yeah,
see him perform live.
yeah. Um, yeah, JB. I mean, I don't see. I don't listen to a lot of JB. To be honest, I just hear his. He's such a huge artist that it's inevitable that I'm gonna hear his songs in some way, shape, or form. Like, cause his music is just very pervasive in the sense that it's gonna be on Spotify. It's gonna be playing in an elevator. It's gonna be playing in a room
Yeah,
somewhere.
it's everywhere. I
Yeah.
feel like if people, I mean, I know people can hate on artists, but it's sort of like once you listen to them, or if the song is popular, you sort of just kind of give into it, or you just end up liking it. I feel like this is, for example, an artist like The Weeknd, right? I know a lot of people might not like his music, but yeah. Oh, wait, you went to the concert as well? I think you were there.
I
Anyway,
was, yeah.
yeah, you were. I remember because you were like in front of me. What was I
I
saying? Yeah,
was.
like an artist like him. I know there are a lot of people that don't sort of enjoy that kind of music, but his music is playing everywhere. Like everywhere I go, I like you always hear it, And people do know the song. A lot of the time, people know the song and like they're singing along. Like I don't know, Blinding Lights right now is that's playing everywhere, and people interact with it and sing along. But then when you come to ask like, oh, who's singing this? Half the time they don't know, and I'm like, oh, it's The Weeknd. And they're like, oh, really? I don't know. That's happened to me, but I'm like, it's interesting.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, because the song is just kind of playing in the background of your mind, but you don't necessarily know who the artist is who created
Yeah.
that bop. Yeah. Yeah, The Weeknd. I mean, I think I was talking about this. I was having like a fanboy moment on the. I think it was episode with Jackson. So I think that's episode 3, and we were talking about The Weeknd, one of my favorite artists.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's one of the greatest talents of our generation, I'd say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But JB 2010, I remember like he had that Justin Bieber cut, and like I remember girls in like second grade, third grade were like fawning over that, and
No, I didn't get to that point, but
yeah,
I just enjoyed his music. That's all.
and he has like, to be honest, even some of his old stuff are some he's a really good artist. Like he's pretty talented. Like he has some bangers, but people just like, I think that song was that really famous Justin Bieber song when he was like 16 or 15. Was it Baby?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I think.
Everyone, oh my gosh, any party you go to, anything you go to, everyone's always playing that song.
Yeah, it's that's definitely one of the biggest hits of the 2010s or 2000s, whenever it came out. I think it was right
Yeah.
on the cusp of like the decade change around that time,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
09,
Maybe
010,
2009.
something like that. But I think it's one of the most disliked YouTube videos in history. Something
Oh yeah,
crazy like that.
I've heard that. I think it has it has a lot of views, but again, like a lot of dislikes.
I'm just thinking, like, why? Just because is it because it's cool to hate on him and you're just gonna dislike the video? I mean, he's just a, like, what were you doing at 16 or 15? Like, were you making hits like that? You can't hate on someone's success, you know.
Exactly,
That's
yeah.
what I don't understand.
I don't know why. Maybe just because he's young, people, he's young and he got popular very fast. People kind of just, I don't know. And also he did open up about like how he's struggling, with being famous and everything. So people, I think that's the part where people didn't understand. They're like, oh, you sort of asked for this, so why are you complaining now? But he gets to, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of unfair. I see this with athletes, both celebrities and athletes, just people in the public eye. I mean, they experience some sort of they experience a period where they have worsened mental health, and people are like, dude, you asked for this. You're a celebrity.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why? I mean, they're still human, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
they still have their
exactly.
own. They're not struggling financially at all, but they still have their own personal struggles. As the wise man once said, more money, more problems.
That's true,
So,
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I think that wraps the end of the episode. Thank you so much for coming on the pod, Shahd. It means
Thank
a lot.
you for having me.
No problem.
I enjoyed.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. Great episode. Oluswole is available on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. And if you're watching this on YouTube, our socials are linked in the description. Peace.
Bye.